Hashtag. Hashtag a horror story set in Waverly Hills Sanatorium, Louisville, Kentucky. Hashtag. There are 3 rules for entering Waverly Hills at midnight. The guide told us so, right outside the rusted iron gate, beneath a flashlight beam trembling in the November wind of Kentucky. His name was Earl, past 60, who had worked as a security guard and tour guide for the overnight visits here for 14 years. His voice was flat and even, like a man reciting a prayer, as though he had spoken these words 1,000 times before. Rule number 1. He raised one calloused finger. Don't go down the Body Chute alone. Never. No matter what you hear down there. Rule number 2. Don't look directly at anyone you are not sure belongs to your group. If you see someone at the end of a corridor, do not call out, do not wave, do not look long. Just turn away. He paused. The wind whistled through the broken windows of the massive 5-story building behind him, a colossal slab of Gothic concrete, black against the sky, with hundreds of dark window cavities like empty eye sockets. And rule number 3, Earl said, his voice dropping lower this time. Don't count. Never count people. Don't count how many are in your group, do not count the rooms, do not count the beds. At Waverly, counting is an invitation. Do you understand? We did not understand. Of course we did not. At the time we only thought it was part of the scare script, a way to spice up the tour, the kind of trick every haunted tourist site uses. I remember glancing at Qua and stifling a laugh. I do not laugh anymore. Now, every night before I sleep, I count. 1, 2, 3. I count the people I love who are still alive. And I pray that the number never changes. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Trang, 26 years old, born in Vietnam but raised in Ohio. I work in film editing, and last year 3 friends and I started a small online channel devoted to filming abandoned places across America. Qua was my boyfriend, the host, a fervent believer in ghosts. Hung was the main cameraman, a technical type who doubted anything that could not be measured. And my younger cousin, just 22, handled sound and logistics, the one most afraid of ghosts in our group, yet the one who most loved to go. 4 people. Remember that number. 4. We chose Waverly Hills for its history. Opened in 1910 and expanded in 1926, it was one of the largest tuberculosis hospitals in America during the White Plague, what people called TB back when it killed by the thousands and medicine had no cure. Patients came here to be healed, but most came here to die. Fresh air on the hilltop, sunlight, and wide verandas open year-round, that was all anyone could do for them, before antibiotics arrived in 1943 and the hospital finally closed in 1961. They say as many as 63,000 people died at Waverly Hills. Historians say the real number is far lower, perhaps only a few thousand, but even a few thousand is a great many people to die in a single building. A great many deaths gathered in one place. And to hide those deaths, they built the Body Chute. It was a tunnel nearly 150 meters long, gently sloping, running underground from the lower floor of the hospital all the way down to the foot of the hill. At first it was used to move supplies and to let staff come and go in the snow. But as the number of dead grew, it was put to a different use. Whenever a patient died, the body was laid on a small cart that ran on rails, then let slide down the slope, out of the building at the bottom of the hill. Why do it that way? Because the living patients were not allowed to see the dead. Earl explained this as we stood at the mouth of the tunnel, a pitch-black hole breathing out cold, musty air. There was no medicine back then, he said. The only medicine was hope. If patients saw their roommate's body carried out the front door every single day, they would lose hope. And to lose hope meant to die faster. So they moved the dead through this tunnel, quietly, at night, around the back, where no one could see. The patients would wake up and find only an empty bed. They told themselves the other person had been discharged. Cured. Gone home. He looked into the darkness of the tunnel. This whole building was built around one single thing, miss. One rule. The living must not see the dead. And to this day he turned back to look at us, the flashlight beam casting upward across his deeply wrinkled face. That rule still holds. It just enforces itself now. #3. We started filming on the first floor around 11 of the clock at night. Kwa hosted with full intensity, walking ahead, his flashlight sweeping the long, cavernous corridors. The wall paint had peeled away in great sheets, hanging loose like flayed skin. The rooms on either side stood empty, a few still holding the rusted frames of iron beds. Hung followed behind with the camera, grumbling about the humidity fogging his lens. Mai walked beside me, gripping the boom mic, her eyes darting everywhere. Trang, Mai whispered, I just heard coughing. From that room. It is just the wind, I said, though I had heard it too. A dry, wet, very faint cough, drifting out of a dark room. Exactly the kind of cough a tuberculosis patient makes, the kind I would heard in documentary footage. I told myself it was wind threading through the ventilation ducts. We climbed to the second floor, then the third. Earl came with us but kept his distance, saying little, only occasionally calling out a reminder. On the third floor, Kwa stopped before a row of rooms and began speaking into the camera about the rumors about experiments on patients, about surgeries removing ribs to collapse the lungs, the brutal procedures of an age when medicine still fumbled in the dark. According to legend, Kwa said, his eyes shining in the light, tens of thousands of people died in this building. Just imagine. If every soul still lingers here, then right now, all around us, there could be thousands. Don't, Earl cut in, his voice suddenly sharp and cold. Don't talk about numbers. Don't count. Kwa froze, a little annoyed at having his shot interrupted. It is just a number, sir. To help the audience picture it. You do not understand. Earl stepped forward, his flashlight trembling. The thing that is here, it does not care whether you believe or not. It only cares whether you count. Counting is the way the living acknowledge the existence of the dead. It is the way you look straight at them. And when you look at them, he lowered his voice, they look back. A heavy silence fell. Then Hung, the skeptic, burst out laughing. Come on, sir. I respect your tour script, but this is basic science. Old building, drafts, mold causing There is nothing to count because there is nothing here. Then he said, so softly I almost did not hear. Then go ahead and count. Count how many people are in your group tonight. Count carefully. #4. Room 502 was on the 5th floor, the highest one, where the administrative offices and nurses' quarters had once been. On the way up, Earl told us Waverly's most famous legend. In 1928, a nurse who worked in room 502 was said to have hanged herself. Rumor had it she was pregnant by a married doctor, and had contracted tuberculosis herself. 4 years later, another nurse was said to have jumped from the 5th floor balcony to the ground. No one knew how true these stories were. The hospital records had mostly been lost, but room 502 was where every film crew, every psychic, every ghost hunter wanted to go. Kwa, of course, was thrilled. He pushed open the door of room 502 and stepped in, Hung's camera right behind him. The room was small, completely bare, with a single broken window looking out into the night. There was nothing there. Only the cold, a cold quite unlike the November chill outside, a damp cold like breath against the back of the neck. Mai stood at the door, refusing to enter. "I will wait out here," she said. I went in with Kwa. We would been filming for a few minutes when Hung's meter, an electromagnetic field detector he carried despite not believing in it, began to chirp. Faintly at first, then rapidly. The needle shot to the top of the scale. "Just a malfunction," Hung muttered, but his voice had lost some of its certainty. Then my flashlight swept across the corner of the room. For a split second, only a split second, I saw a human figure. A woman in an old white nurse's uniform, standing with her back to the wall, her head tilted slightly to one side at an unnatural angle, as though the neck had broken. I started to call out, started to point her out to the others. And I remembered rule number 2. Don't look directly. Just turn away, asterisk. I lowered my flashlight, turned my face away, my heart pounding wildly. When I shone the light back, the corner of the room was empty. "You see something?" Kwa asked. "No," I lied. "Let us go. It is too cold." When we stepped out, Mai was standing in the corridor, her face ghostly white. "Trang," she said, her voice trembling. "Just now, while you two were in the room, I counted 4 people coming out. But there were only you and Kwa in the room. 2 of you. Why did I count 4? #V. I told Mai she would miscount it because she was scared. Shifting shadows, a wild beam of light, easy to see double. Mai nodded but did not believe it, and honestly, neither did I. We decided to shoot the final scene and then leave, the scene at the mouth of the Body Chute down in the basement. Kwa wanted a striking closing shot, standing at the pitch-black mouth of the tunnel and saying goodbye to the audience. Earl came down with us, and for the first time all night, I saw him truly tense. He kept muttering, counting his steps. No, he was counting us. Every few minutes he would glance back, his lips moving, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then he would exhale in relief. Then a moment later he would count again. I asked him why he was doing it when he was the one who had forbidden us to count. "Because I have to know," he said. "I forbade you to count because counting invites it. But once it is able to come, then I have to count to know whether it has come yet. Understand? Something's wrong tonight. That young man's meter going off in room 502 is a bad omen. I will get you out, and then I am quitting. 14 years, and I have never seen it as awake as it is tonight." We reached the basement. The mouth of the Body Chute appeared, a dark concrete arch, the rusted rails still lying there, running off into the darkness, sloping down into the heart of the hill. Cold air breathed out from within, carrying a smell I will never forget, the smell of damp earth mixed with something sweet and sickly, the smell of very many years and very many deaths. Kwa took his position, Hung set up the camera. Mai held the secondary light. I stood beside Earl. "Hey everyone, we are the Body Chute, where thousands of bodies were brought down, quietly, in the night, so the living would not have to see death. Imagine all the people who slid down this slope. 1, then 2, then 3, then hundreds, then thousands. KHOA, don't," Earl screamed. But it was too late. From deep within the tunnel, a sound rose. Metal grinding on metal. The wheels of an old cart rolling on the rails. Something was coming up. Coming up from the foot of the hill, up toward us, in the darkness. And all our lights went out at once. In that absolute darkness, I heard everything with horrifying clarity. The cart grinding on the rails, closer and closer. My whimpering. Hung cursing, banging on his light. Earl breathing hard. And beneath all of it, another sound coughing. Hundreds of coughs. The dry, wet coughing of rotted lungs, rising from the tunnel, from the floors above, from inside the walls, from everywhere. The whole building was coughing. Lights. Can anyone get a light on? I screamed. Hung's flashlight flared back to life. He aimed it at the mouth of the tunnel. The cart had stopped there, right at the mouth. Old, rusted, a flat iron tray on 4 wheels. And on it lay a human figure. A figure gaunt to the bone, covered in a white sheet gone yellow, only the feet and one side of the face exposed, a hollow face, eyes shut, skin stretched over the cheekbones like paper. None of us moved. None of us dared breathe. Then the corpse on the cart slowly turned its head. Its eyes opened. And it looked straight at us, no, straight at my, who stood nearest the mouth of the tunnel. It broke into a smile. And in a voice thick and hoarse and wet, it spoke, every word clear in an old-fashioned English. Asterisk, it is your turn to go down now, climb aboard. I will take you home, asterisk. My screamed and stepped back. That was the mistake. She should have turned away, not looked, following rule number 2. But she had looked straight at it. And once you look straight at it, you belong to it. Mai's arm jerked up, as if pulled by an invisible cord toward the cart. Her feet stepped forward, against her will, her eyes wide with terror. Trang. I can't control it. It is pulling me. I lunged and threw my arms around her. Kwa lunged too. The two of us clung to Mai, but a terrible invisible force dragged her toward the tunnel, so strong that all 3 of us slid across the damp concrete floor. The coughing throughout the building grew more frantic, like applause, like eagerness. Earl, I screamed. Do something. #7. Earl did not panic. 14 years in this place had taught him one thing. Rule number 3, he shouted. It came because you counted. Kwa counted the dead, so the dead count you back. Now there are not 4 people in this group anymore, it has counted 5. It thinks there are 5, so it wants to take 1 back to complete its number. So what do we do? Kwa shouted, his arms still locked around Mai as she was dragged along. You have to count again. Earl knelt beside us, grabbing Mai's hand. Count out loud, count correctly, reassert who we are. Say your names. The living confirm the living. That is the only way to make it let go. Quickly. I did not fully understand, but I believed him. I gripped Mai's hand and screamed my name into the darkness. I am Trang. I am alive. I am Kwa. I am alive, Kwa shouted after me. I am HNG, the skeptic bellowed, for the first time in his life believing in something he could not measure. I am alive. The pull weakened a little. I shook Mai. You too. Say it. Say your name. Mai opened her mouth, but the thing on the cart spoke faster, its voice now sweet and soothing, exactly the voice of a gentle nurse. Hush, do not listen to them, sweetheart. You are so tired, are not you? You cough all the time, you have a fever, you just want to rest. Down here it does not hurt anymore. There is no more fear. Come on the cart with me, I will take you home, and you will be cured. Asterisk. And I saw Mai's eyes soften, saw her stop struggling. Saw a tired, grateful smile bloom on her lips, the smile of an exhausted tuberculosis patient promised that the pain would end. That thing did not take people through fear. It took them through compassion, through the promise of rest. That was how it had coaxed thousands of people to slide down that slope. "Mais not sick," I screamed, taking her face in my hands, forcing her to look into my eyes instead of at the corpse. "Listen to me. You are healthy. You are alive. You are Mai. Say it." Mai blinked. The cloudy film over her eyes dissolved, and she screamed, with all the strength she had left, a scream that broke open into tears. "I am Mai. I am alive. I'm not going anywhere." The pull vanished so abruptly that all four of us tumbled backward onto the concrete floor. The coughing stopped dead. Silence dropped over us, absolute, as though someone had just closed an enormous door. When I looked up, the cart was empty. No corpse, no white sheet. Only a rusted iron tray, lying still at the mouth of the tunnel, as though it had not moved in 60 years. We ran out of Waverly Hills that night and never went back. Earl walked us all the way to the gate. Before we got in the car, he gripped my shoulder, his eyes grave in the moonlight. "You were lucky," he said. "Lucky that someone in your group was willing to scream the girl's name. Most people, in that moment, only know how to scream their own name. They worry about saving themselves. And the one being dragged just keeps sliding down. I saw it happen once, in my 3rd year here. A young man. His whole group escaped, but he went down the tunnel and never came back up. The police searched for 3 days. No body. They wrote in the report that he got lost in the woods. But I know. He completed the number for it. That night it stopped counting. He let go of my shoulder. Don't ever come back here. And listen to me, do not tell this story as a number. Don't say, 63,000 people died. Don't turn them into a number. Because what makes this place dangerous is not ghosts. It is that people keep on counting the dead, group after group, year after year. Every time someone counts, it is another time they wake and count back. All they want is to be remembered as people, miss. Not numbers. They died in a place where the living were not allowed to look at them. And they are still waiting for someone to look at them the right way. I did not fully understand his words that night. But I understood later. That was a year ago. We never posted the footage. Hung deleted the entire memory card the very next night, his hands trembling. He is no longer a skeptic. Now he goes to church every Sunday. Kwa and I broke up a few months later, not because of that night, or maybe partly because of that night, because there are some things that, once shared, make it hard to look at each other the same way. Mai dropped out for a semester, went to therapy, and she is doing better now. She says she does not remember clearly what happened in the tunnel. I am glad of that. As for me, I am fine. Most of the time. It is just that, ever since that night, I have a new habit. Every evening before I sleep, I count. I count the 4 of us, Trang, Kwa, Hung, Mai, and tell myself that all 4 are still alive, still well, still in this world. 1, 2, 3, 4. It is a comforting ritual, a way for me to believe that we won that night, that we all got out of there. But 3 nights ago, something happened. I was counting, as always, in the darkness of my bedroom. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a soft voice, hoarse and wet, spoke right beside my ear, from the darkest corner of the room. 5. I lay still, not daring to breathe. You miscounted, child, the voice went on, gentle as a nurse adjusting a patient's blanket. Asterisk that night in the tunnel, you all screamed each other's names. Trang. Qua. Hung. My. 4 names. 4 living people. But when you walked into the building, from the very start, there were already 5. Don't you remember? You never counted as you walked in. Only the guide counted. And he counted 4, because he did not count himself, asterisk. My heart turned to ice. Earl, the voice whispered, so close I felt the cold breath against the back of my neck. Asterisk your guide. 14 years ago, he too walked into this building with a group. And he was the only one willing to scream another person's name instead of his own. So he stayed here, 14 years, counting in our place, leading group after group inside, keeping the number balanced. That was his price. Now he is tired. He wants to rest. And he has chosen his replacement, asterisk. Asterisk you screamed your cousin's name instead of your own, Trang. You put a living person ahead of yourself. Exactly like Earl long ago. Do you know what that means, asterisk? In the darkest corner of the room, I saw a figure. An old man, thin and gaunt, wearing Earl's worn security uniform. He smiled at me, a tired, grateful, relieved smile. The smile of a man finally allowed to rest. Thank you, Earl said. I am so tired. Then he dissolved into the darkness, and was gone. The next morning I called the Waverly Hills Historic Site and asked about Earl. They said they had no guard named Earl. Never had, in the entire history of the overnight tours. The night tour we would join a year before had been led by a young guide named Jake, who when I dredged up the memory had said goodbye to us in the parking lot at the very start, saying that Mr. Earl will take you inside. No one knew who Mr. Earl was. I am writing these lines on an afternoon, while it is still light out, because I no longer dare write at night. I am writing to warn anyone who plans to visit Waverly Hills, or any place where people once tried to hide the dead from the living. There are 3 rules. Don't go down the tunnel alone. Don't look directly at strangers. And never count the dead. But there is a 4th rule that Earl never had the chance to tell us, the cruelest one of all. If, in the most terrifying moment, you choose to save someone else before saving yourself, if you scream their name instead of your own, then the building will remember. It will mark you as someone who can count in place of the dead. And one day, when the current keeper has grown too weary, it will come looking for you. Tonight, for the first time in a year, I will not count the 4 of us. I will count 5. And I think, before long, I will have to go back to Kentucky. Back to the building on the hilltop, where the living are not allowed to see the dead. A new group of guests is coming this weekend. They will meet me in the parking lot. I will smile, hand them flashlights, and say, there are 3 rules for entering Waverly Hills at midnight. Asterisk Waverly Hills Sanatorium still stands on its hilltop in Louisville, Kentucky, to this day. Daytime tours and overnight ghost hunts are still held there for visitors, asterisk. The Body Chute is still there, sloping down into the heart of the hill, dark and silent. And if you join an overnight tour, remember to count carefully not the number of the dead, but the number of the living who came with you. Both as you walk in, and, more importantly, as you walk out.